My guest is a first-generation Cambodian-American, the first in her family to graduate college, and now a mom to a lively toddler. In this episode, she shares how encouragement from loved ones gave her the courage to move alone to a new city, how each brave step fueled the next, and how she's learning to balance motherhood with a demanding career. From teaching herself English with Sesame Street to championing education for immigrant communities, she shows us that courage often begins with believing in yourself and grows into a force that shapes families and futures. You're listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, episode 28. To all the courageous women leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I am an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have real, unfiltered conversations with women doing the work of public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then let's dive into this brand new episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'd like to start by introducing myself if you're brand new to the podcast, or reintroducing myself if you're a returning listener. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock, and I am the CEO of the Courageous Public Health Consulting Firm, where we support public health organizations through workshop design and facilitation and speaking engagements. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest on this episode. Let me formally introduce her, and then we'll jump right into our conversation. Mully Chea, MSHI, is a first-generation Cambodian-American born and raised in West Philadelphia. She is a proud Temple alumni. Mully is passionate about education, child and maternal health, minority health, and nutrition. She is deeply rooted in the community and uses her background in public health and information technology to help others. Ready to be inspired? Let's listen to my conversation with Mully right now. Welcome, Mully. Welcome to the Courageous Public Health Podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's been a good day. It's nice to be able to say that. It's been a good day. So I want to start by giving a shout out to Shambria Jones, Dr. Shambria Jones, who recommended you as a guest. And she and I had a great conversation during her interview. So, shout out to Shambria.
Yes.
How do you guys know each other? I didn't even ask.
We are actually college best friends. So we met each other during our undergrad years at Temple University.
Oh my God. You know what? Now that you say that, she did say, "This is my best friend." Oh, that's really sweet. I love that. And that you both ended up in public health. That's pretty incredible. Not necessarily what you would expect. That's very cool. That's very cool. Well, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, everyone. I am Mully Chea, and I am a first-generation Cambodian-American. And I am also a mom to a 2.5-year-old.
Lovely. And you said that your 2.5-year-old might be coming home soon. So, we'll real life here on the Courageous Public Health Podcast.
Yes. You might hear some background noise. You might not. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. Well, I would love to just jump right into the questions with you. So I always start by asking about courage. And I like to remind the listeners that bravery is about taking action without fear, whereas courage is taking action despite fear. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear about some experiences from your life, your professional life, your personal life, where you've acted courageously.
Thank you for the amazing question. I would say something that was personal and professional was me taking a leap of faith and accepting a position to, develop myself, personally and professionally, and relocate to a new city and new state without no family, with no friends, just me by myself.
Yeah, I have to take a breath into that because I can imagine that that took a lot of courage to make that decision and to
Yes,
actually do it.
yeah, it did. But also too, just you know, putting trust in that path that was chosen for me, and realizing that if it doesn't work out, that I can always come back. Come back home to my family and to my friends. But it was, I guess, one of the best decisions that I recommend anybody and everybody to do. It's a scary thought, but when you do it, you have a sense of courage about yourself that you may
Yeah.
thought that you never had. And I can say that I'm a testimony of that as well, because I've grown so much, not just personally, but professionally, and have, just become the woman that I am today because of me taking that step and putting myself out there.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that for you. Um, I love that as an example. Uh, so what do you think it was that pushed you to be courageous to take that step? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think it was the encouragement of just close family and friends that I've,
Mm,
trusted in. And it's not many that I, kind of share those types of ideas with, just because
yeah.
sometimes some people can, not necessarily be negative, but, kind of push on their reservations on you. And that's not really what you're looking for. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to seek that group of support that, though it may not be a decision that they like for you to do, but they are in support of it. And I'm just very grateful to have that support system that pushed me to, take that courageous step into relocating. And again, it's the best feeling because I learned just so much about myself in that process of not having anybody around and having to rely just on myself.
Yeah.
But also prior to me relocating alone without family and friends, I did accept a role where I had to travel 100%. So, prior to relocating to that new city, I did travel for a few years
Mm,
by myself, obviously meeting with other colleagues at the consulting firm or the software company that I used to work for. And that really also kind of helped pave the way for my confidence, and knowing that, like, I'll be okay.
yeah. Absolutely. So I can't believe this hasn't occurred to me before, but you use the word encouragement. I'm like, oh, courage is literally in the word encourage. Encouragement. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know that I had thought about that before consciously. So that's really cool. Yeah, sometimes my brain. But that's lovely, and I'm glad that you had people in your life who were able to, as you said, like it might not be the decision that they would make for you, and they might have feelings about the decision that decision that you make, but they're also, it's not about them. They're there because they want to support you, and that they're able to sort of see beyond their own perspective, to have an understanding of like what your path is and what is going to benefit you.
Yes.
So that's really great.
Yes.
That's really lovely.
Yeah. I don't think that if they encouraged me, that I think I would have took that, step into, executing that plan, because everything had to be planned out, meticulously in order for me to smoothly move over there. Right. It took a lot of time, and lots of phone calls, to find out a right place to live.
Sure.
But, I did have some time before I started my job, and that also was a learning process too, because I was super homesick.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
So, but no, I mean, I'd do it again. Well, I did do it again, but yeah.
You did do it again.
I did.
Well, you know what? Okay, I was thinking when you were talking that when we take courageous action, sometimes the accomplishment after the fact, it's like, okay, I accomplished something, and that can feel really good, which I think then makes it maybe a little bit easier, or maybe not easier, but like then there's still, the next time there's an opportunity to be courageous, it's like, okay, you know what? I was courageous last time and it paid off, and I feel like a badass from it. And then I'm gonna, and so like maybe I could do that again. So I believe that courage feeds courage.
Absolutely. Yep. No one will believe in yourself but yourself, right? So you always have to keep that in mind. I think the one thing I struggle with as being a new mom is, not putting myself first. I know that I'm not the only one that struggles with it, especially someone who, is career focused, and, transitioning into, from being a career woman to a mom, right? Those are two totally different things. And it's like you're juggling two different lives and trying to be present at both, but you kind of can't. So, that whole being courageous, you have to be courageous, not just in your job, but, your personal life as well, especially, the new role of being a mom. It has so many ups and downs, but it's such a rewarding job in itself.
Yeah.
Seeing your child just grow and develop as well. So, and it's the same thing for you in your career. You aren't the same person that you were before. In any job that you do, there is some lesson learned in that. Yeah, it's I actually work out in Arizona for a client in Arizona right now. So yeah, she's pinging me, but I'm not going to respond right now because
this also gets to be your time. So this is like, sorry, I can't respond. I'm doing a podcast interview. That like sounds so cool.
Yeah, I just had to rush one of my coworkers off, and I'm so sorry. Can we like talk about this like next week, because I'm being interviewed for a podcast. She's like, what? She's like, that's so great.
That's so cool. See? Yes. That is prioritizing your own time. That
Absolutely.
is a great example of prioritizing your own time, which, yes, I certainly understand as a new mom that that can be challenging, right? And yeah, making space for your role as mom and your role as professional, and you get to do both at the same time. And I remember when I had my daughter, that I was like, oh, I mean, all this work has been done to allow professional women to become moms, and you can totally have it all, and you can do all the things. And I sort of went into it with that mentality, and I was surprised at how. It was really hard. It was really challenging to balance those two roles. So I empathize.
Yeah, and not only that too. I don't know if Cham always makes fun of me. She's like, you need to stop that. I'm like, no, it's not, I'm very much of a realist. And for me, it's like, you know, I may look young, but not that I feel old or anything like that. But like, I'm entering a new chapter in my life, right? Like, I'm going to be joining the 40s, in less than like 8 months. Like, my birthday's in April. So for me, it's like, you know, I'm going to be 42 or 41 with a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
That's another space.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I was thinking that I could say, welcome to the next decade, but I'm actually even a decade beyond that. So but yes,
Yeah.
I was in that decade, so I can say welcome to that decade.
Yeah. I mean, I very much had my son when I was 37. Yeah, 37.
Yeah.
So much later in life, because all my friends have kids that are probably tweens. So
yeah.
I'm the late bloomer out of the group, but now I'm not because Cham has a 9-month-old.
Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly. That's true.
Yeah. And my childhood best friend has that I've known since I was 12.
Yeah.
She has a 4-month-old. So
okay.
So I'm not the last one.
Boy, there's so much societal pressure about having your children early, and there's all this fear it's going to be too late, you're going to run out of time. And I mean, sure, things happen, but also a lot of women are able to get pregnant and have their children in their, late 30s, early 40s, even mid 40s sometimes. And so I wish that there weren't so many messages. Like, I remember feeling that internal pressure. I was 33 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm behind, I'm late, I gotta get on it. What if? And it's like, okay, you know what? All that pressure, it does nothing to help us.
No, absolutely
and it
nothing.
certainly doesn't help us get pregnant. We're trying to get pregnant. It's like stress.
Yes, it is. I mean, I said that to now my husband. Obviously, we've been together for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
But we've been married for 4. And when we were dating, I told him, I said, well, once I'm 35, I'm looking after 35, but before 40. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm okay. I have tons of nieces and godchildren that I can care for, and I think I've been a great aunt. I have a 25-year-old niece that I've raised. So, she made me an aunt when I was 14 years old, and I'm like her second mom. So, for me, it's like it was different, but I will say,
that.
As a mom, I didn't understand it until I became one. So I have all respect for it because I'm there's moments where I'm struggling and there's moments where I feel like I'm thriving.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, good for you for not getting totally swept up in that chattery dialogue thing that, I think women can often get.
It still happens now.
Swept up with.
It still happens now.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of young people that I see and read. I'm like, don't rush it. Enjoy your time. Travel.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes, I totally agree. And especially if you are going into that with a partner, which obviously not everyone is, but if you're going into it with a partner, my thing is take time to be 2 before you become 3, because it's a whole new ballgame when you have a third person, a baby. And, part of me wishes that my husband and I had spent more time together to just establish our coupling, Yeah. So, okay, this is great. I wanted to also ask you about claiming and expressing your power, because I think this is another component of courage, and certainly, thinking about expressing that power in spaces that might not always welcome it. Let me say that again. Expressing your power in spaces that might not always welcome it. So, do you have some thoughts about that, and maybe some challenges you faced and strategies you've used to navigate those challenges?
I think just being authentically yourself, and having integrity. And that also stems from just like the people that you surround yourself with and how you were raised, because that truly does shape you into being who you are. I know most people may not agree with me, but I think, your environment does shape you in some form of some way, not entirely, but at the same time, it does help you. And so if you surround yourself with like-minded, positive people who are go-getters and, are tenacious, I think that also plays a huge role. My brother used to always say to me, you are who you keep, right?
Hmm.
And, I've always had all types of friends, but I've always cling to, sorry, to people that, that wanted to do something better, have some goals for themselves. And that's kind of sort of, who I surrounded myself with. But most importantly, I think I always just believed in myself. I didn't care about the outside. I just did what I needed to do to get where I am today. I have always believed in myself and never let anybody tell me any different, whether if it be good or bad, right? We all have flaws about us, but
Sure.
but at the same time, it was more of, my mom has always just instilled in me to believe in myself, and that I'm a huge advocate for education as well. My mom used to always say, no one can take the knowledge that you gain away from you.
Mm,
So
nice. Okay, well, shout out to mom for that.
yes,
That's
yes,
fantastic, and and how great that you felt solid in your self worth and self confidence, because that's so important. And I feel like what you're talking about is, you're talking about your community. You're talking about creating community around you, right? And being intentional about the people that you want to include in your community, right? I mean, we can define communities in lots of different ways, and we all have lots of different communities. It's not like we have one community. But yeah, your sort of community of friends and support systems and people that you choose to have in your life, like I think really it's really useful to be intentional about that.
absolutely. Yep. It's something that I've always done for myself is just be intentional because, um, another, I guess, life lesson that my mom always teaches me as well is just um, being not only just being intentional, but just being aware, of of who you are, because no one's going to know you better than yourself. And so, it could mean the good, the bad, and the ugly. And sometimes a lot of people don't like the ugly side of themselves, but that's
Yeah.
the reality is accepting those about your, those qualities about yourself, but then also questioning, well, how and what can I change,
Yeah.
or do I want to change?
Yeah.
And I guess growing up, I've always just been a little bit wiser than some of the other kids I grew up with, just because of
Yeah.
having my mom who's just always been, in the forefront and supported me in everything that I've done in my life, whether if it was a good decision or a bad decision. And, sometimes we don't always want to hear it because that's our mom, right?
Sure.
So, but, she's always just been a huge advocate of me, pursuing education and putting forth that effort, and getting a degree. I am the first person in my family to graduate college, so it was a huge
Amazing.
deal. It was a huge, huge deal, not just once but twice, and be able to find a career in the degrees that I went to school for, and how both those degrees meshed with each other to where I am at now. And, going back into that space of public health is where I want to be. But also, I can't deny like the IT side, because that's what I also love to do as well.
I mean, and being able to combine those things is really fantastic. Yeah. So I also want to ask you, about your vision and your vision for the future. And I'm thinking about vision in terms of, for public health, for your community, any of your communities, and what your personal vision is as well.
So my personal vision would probably be something within the education realm, just because I'm a huge advocate for education. I've literally had to self-teach myself, everything, because my parents, they were non-English speaking individuals coming to this country. And so I had to, help myself in school my whole life, and that's another reason why I want to focus more on education, is because I want others to see that all things are possible, whether if you have parents that speak English or not. It's really just up to you. And I really learned how to speak English watching Sesame Street as a child.
Wow. Yeah. And it's, I mean, this is a time when, our public, what are they called? Okay, I'm gonna have to cut this out. But yeah, the funding for things like Sesame Street, PBS.
Yeah, all the educational shows.
The educational shows is being cut, and it's just that's pretty devastating, actually, in my opinion. And that's beautiful that you felt like Sesame Street was a big part of you learning English. Like that's, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't learn how to speak English until I went to preschool. Preschool, kindergarten.
Yeah.
So it was just speaking, my native tongue at home, day in and day out. So I didn't understand English at all, besides just watching television. But again, it wasn't like my parents could read to me either, because they didn't know how to read. So
yeah.
So watching television, PBS and WHYY were the two channels that I was allowed to watch growing up as a child, and that really just kind of shaped me, being who I am today. But you would never know, right?
No, I never know.
It's funny because I get that from people too. They're like, "Oh, I would have never known that you didn't speak English when you were a kid." I'm like, "Well, thanks."
Yeah, thanks, but I mean, it's true. Yeah. That's that's really, thanks for sharing that. That's beautiful. Any thoughts about do you have a vision for other first generation Cambodian-Americans or first generation immigrants? Do you have thoughts about what you want for those communities?
Well, I will say that there's a bigger community for first generation, and obviously second and third. I think there's a lot more resources for them than there were for me growing up. And so that, that's always a great thing. And then also too, just, being that person that they can look up or reach out to, right? And say, okay, this person kind of looks like me, probably knows my struggles. So maybe I can confide in them. I think that's also super important as well, because I didn't have that growing up. A lot of it, I had to kind of figure out on my own. And again, create my own community of folks that were willing to listen and just empathize with me, even though they wouldn't understand, because I truly believe that no matter what situation any person is in their lives, unless you're going through it, you're not going to be able to understand. And a perfect example of that is being a mother. Every scenario is different. Every situation is different for each mom. And, it's not a one size fit all type of scenario. It's
for sure.
You don't know what you get. So
yeah,
you have to make the best of it. And, just giving yourself grace, something that I'm also learning as well, and growing through that.
Beautiful. I love that. Such great advice for yourself, and such great advice for certainly for new moms. And I consider the mom of the 2.5-year-old still a new mom. Because you'll be a mom. Yeah, you'll always be a mom now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on as a guest. Appreciate Shambria for making the recommendation again. You said sham at some point, and it took me a second, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're talking about Shambria. Great. Yes. I want to make sure that our listeners know the best way to connect with you if they want to learn more about you and your courage. So what's the best way?
I have a LinkedIn account, so they can search me through there and message me if they want to get to know me or have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we'll be sure to put your LinkedIn link. It always sounds funny to say LinkedIn link. We'll put your LinkedIn link in our show notes, our show notes page, which will you can find on the website. So, well, thank you so much. And you didn't get interrupted by your 2.5-year-old. So that's lovely. Woohoo. And you didn't get interrupted by your work stuff. So you got to take some time for Mully. Love it. Love it. Okay. We'll be in touch.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes courage is taking the first step into the unknown, moving to a new city, far from the people who know you best. Sometimes courage is believing in your own strength, especially when you're the first in your family to walk a path. And sometimes courage is giving yourself grace, learning to show up fully as both a parent and a professional. Mully reminds us that each act of courage can spark the next, and that the communities we build around us through encouragement, empathy, and education can help us keep growing more courageous together. You can connect with Mully on LinkedIn to learn more about her and her courage. All the links to connect with her are in the show notes page for episode 28 on our website, courageouspublichealth.com. Before you return to your day, take a minute to sign up for the weekly Courageous Public Health podcast email updates so you never miss an episode. You can also do that on our website at courageouspublichealth.com because there's more great stuff to come. Thanks so much for being here, and until our next episode, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.